Welcome to the Thriveology Show. I'm Lydia Atlas. And today, I'm going to ask you a question. As a woman, have you felt like a stranger in your own body? And if you have, this is why. You are not crazy. This is perimenopause. So, no one truly prepares us women for this part of life at all, let alone talk about it. One day you feel like you're yourself, grounded, clear, steady. And then you wake up the next morning, your body feels unfamiliar. Your emotions feel heightened. Your mind feels foggy, scattered, different. And quietly, internally, you start asking yourself, what is wrong with me? What is happening to me? What's happening? I don't recognize myself anymore. Let me gently tell you something that may change everything. Nothing is wrong with you. Your body is not breaking, it's recalibrating. And this phase is often called perimenopause, which leads us into menopause. I like to call it puberty rewind. And this perimenopause/menopause begins as early as our 30s, late 30s, into our late 40s, sometimes even earlier, depending on circumstances, stressors, biology, situations we've gone through, trauma. And most women don't realize that perimenopause is not a slow, gentle decline. It's actually a dynamic, fluctuating transition. Your hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone, don't just decrease, they rise and fall unpredictably. And because these hormones directly communicate with your brain, you don't just feel it physically, you feel it emotionally, mentally, and energetically. So let's ground this into something real. On average, up to 80% of women experience noticeable symptoms during perimenopause. And about 60% of these women report anxiety, mood changes. 40% of women experience brain fog or memory changes, where all of a sudden, names you could remember before, you can't remember the person's name, even you recognize their face. You can't even remember what year you were born in, let alone how old you are. You can't remember your cell phone number, and the list goes on and on. So this estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It plays key roles in serotonin production, which is your mood stabilizer, cortisol regulation, which is your stress response, cognitive clarity and memory, and of course, your sleep cycle and your nervous system balance. So when estrogen fluctuates, your emotional world can feel unpredictable. Your nervous system becomes hypersensitive, and your resilience and your tolerance plummets. It feels lower than it was once before. So all of a sudden, all that patience you had in your 20s and 30s is out the window now. Things annoy you, things irritate you, things agitate you, and your level of patience plummets. And this does not mean that you are weak or there is something wrong. It just signals to us that your body is in transition. Your body is in transition. Now, you may notice feeling moody, feeling more anxious, apprehensive, tightness in circumstances, even if nothing around you has changed. You become more reactive, more impulsive. emotionally sensitive. Things that before never seemed to hurt you, all of a sudden, they hurt you. You feel wounded emotionally. You start to experience deep exhaustion, fatigue, tiredness, even after you've rested. And then you have obviously those moments where your mind feels so unclear and fuzzy and foggy, you can't even remember your home address. And perhaps the most disturbing part about it is you just don't feel like yourself, at least not how you were or as you remember yourself in your 20s and your 30s. But this is not a sign that you are losing yourself. What is happening is you are being invited into a new version of yourself, one that requires a different level of care, awareness, and support, not from those around you, but from you yourself. You need to start taking care of yourself differently. And this is where the shift happens. Instead of resisting this natural progression in life, this natural transition in life, you begin to understand it. Instead of asking yourself, what is wrong with me? You need to start asking yourself, what is my body trying to communicate? Because remember, your body is not working against you. Actually, to the contrary, it works for you 24/7, nonstop, no vacations, never any break, and continuously free of charge. So, this is the time in our lives as women where we are required, and it's necessary. This is a non-negotiable. You need to slow down. You need to listen more deeply. You need to support your nervous system. You need to nourish your body differently. And instead of pushing through everything that you are so used to doing since your 20s, you need to shift into partnering with daily tasks and situations. And when we do this, everything will change around you for the better. When we understand this on a bio-hormonal level, and we approach this with knowledge, with wisdom, then this anxiety we're experiencing becomes less confusing. The fatigue we're experiencing becomes less frustrating. The emotional waves we feel become less overwhelming because now you have a context. You have a foundational ground from which you can operate with knowledge. And with this awareness and with this understanding comes your ultimate power. This is not the end of your vitality. This is the beginning of a more aligned, intuitive, purposeful, and deeply connected way of living in your body. Most women are led to believe that once we enter perimenopause and menopause, that it's only a certain duration and that's it. But this is not the case. Actually, once we go into perimenopause and menopause, that is the transition we stay in until our last breath. There is no exiting menopause because the cessation of menses means you are no longer having your monthly cycle. But that's just not a 1 year or a 5-year window. It means that is how it will be until your last breath. Therefore, ultimately, we stay in menopause until our last breath as women. And this is something we need to understand and accept. Is this a weakness? Absolutely not. Can this empower us? Yes. Yes, it can. Because those reserves that were utilized in our bodies for reproductive purposes for a good 30, 40 years are now going to different areas of our bodies. So instead of just focusing on the reproductive energy within our systems, those reserves can now go to other areas of our bodies and increase our health and wellness. So, you are not crazy if you are experiencing symptoms. You are not weak if you're experiencing symptoms. But in today's day and age, with all the stressors we have, with all the things that are thrown at us, requirements as women, just in order to survive, it is sometimes really difficult to just sit down and say, do you know what? There is nothing wrong with me. I am just transitioning into the next phase of my life. And it is actually a beautiful phase. It is a beautiful phase. Because now, instead of physically being able to reproduce, you can now intellectually, emotionally, mentally, relationally, culturally, socially reproduce with your time, talent, and treasure. So we are not broken as women when we enter perimenopause and menopause. We are not losing ourselves. We are not crazy. We are merely transitioning. And this is something that needs to be spoken about. If we look back 100, 200 years, not much was spoken about this. Well, not only that, but most women, when they transitioned, it was a very soft, quiet process. And most women didn't experience all the symptoms that modern day woman does because they lived much more with nature. They lived more cohesively one with nature. So the symptoms that we have nowadays, they are extreme. They are inflated, but that goes hand in hand with the way women are required to survive nowadays. 200, 300 years ago, women were very in tune with their bodies. The mind-body connection was very, very connected. They lived with nature. Nowadays, with all the commodities we have, women push themselves harder and harder and harder and harder to be that superwoman, to our own demise, because we will never be able to be superwoman. We need to be wise women, and that is something we can learn from our ancestors generations ago, hundreds of years ago. They were very wise women. So we are not losing ourselves. And when you understand this, you finally start to put the Lego pieces together and say, I see. I need to change the way I am going to treat myself, the way I'm going to sustain myself, the way I'm going to honor myself, the way I'm going to invest into myself. So perimenopause and menopause, it's a natural, beautiful phase in life. Yes, it comes with symptoms. Yes, it is very difficult. However, it can be eased. It can be traveled through a path less difficult if you have the right tools and the right knowledge. So, if this episode resonated with you, I created something special to support you even deeper. Grab below your free guide, Puberty Rewind, 10 Essential Shifts to Rebalance Your Body, Mind, and Hormones. And spread this, share this information with your fellow sisters who are experiencing the same thing. This guide will help you navigate this transition with clarity, confidence, and grounded support so you're not left guessing what your body needs and what you need to offer it in order to travel this path with least resistance. So you can download it now underneath and start understanding your body in a whole new holistic way. And if you're ready for more, follow me on the Thriveology Show. Like and subscribe this video. And because this is where confusion turns into clarity and where you learn how to truly thrive in the season of your life. Thank you for joining me. Blessings to you.